Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. We're going to talk about WandaVision, Episode 5. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent. Today we're talking WandaVision, Episode 5. We're back, baby! We are so back. I'm so excited with this episode. This episode was a blast to watch, an absolute treat. After the downhill of Episode 4, in my opinion, I know there are some others out there on the internet that really thought it was the best one yet. For me, my joy in this show is the riffs on the sitcoms and everything they do to subvert them, and that this episode was full of that. Even more, I'm mostly interested in what's going on inside the Hex, as we learned it's called this episode, which is like the hexagonal dome over the town of Westview, New Jersey. I'm most interested about what's going on with Wanda and Vision, and we got a whole lot of that this episode. Things are escalating quickly, very quickly, rapidly aging, you might call it. All that stuff was so cool. And the ending of this episode, ooh boy, was great. Not just to see that character back, but also the TV meta thing, and Darcy had it. You know, she recast so-and-so. Oh, so good. So funny. Can't wait to see what happens next. So let's talk about it. So I thought we were going to get an episode about taking care of babies, right? Because Wanda had her kids in the last episode, and I thought we'd have a parenting episode from like Full House, which I don't know if that's what this is based on. Maybe like early Full House. I know it was more of a 90s show, but this totally reminds me of Full House with the stained glass door window. Like, wasn't that like a San Francisco house on a hill thing or something? I'm thinking Full House. That was my 80s sitcom. Steve Urkel, Full House, Family Matters. Those are my sitcoms. But I don't know if maybe not All in the Family, Silver Spoons, whatever sitcom that Michael J. Fox was on had maybe the same deal. Who knows? Facts of Life. I have no idea. Anyway, I thought we were going to get a baby episode, and we had a little bit of that with The Babies Won't Sleep, Here's the Pacifiers, it worked, and then all of a sudden Agnes shows up. We had a little bit of that, and it was really weird. Like, there was this moment, and Catherine Hahn as Agnes in this show is just so good. That moment where she says, do you want to take it from the top? Like, we'd seen that in previews, I believe, and it was like, I thought Agnes was in on it almost. But when they actually showed the whole part here in the episode, she's fearful. She's looking at Wanda like, are you gonna hurt me? Are you gonna kill me? Like, what do you want, boss? She's kind of like groveling, and speaking like directly to Wanda. So I just really enjoyed that bit. And you had Vision over in the corner hiding his face behind a pillow so he could transform it into his human form. And then you have the kids just rapidly aging, just like all of a sudden, like, where'd the kids go? And here's these two little boys now, they're 6. And, something like, they seemed like they were 6, right? I have a 6-year-old, so that's what it reminded me of, 5 or 6. And then later on, and they just look at each other, and they're like, you're too young to have a dog. And they're like, aw, and they just, boop, they're 10. And they're like, whoa, like, that was crazy. So these twins, have these powers. They have something, because they're aging themselves. I don't think that's Wanda doing it. I think that's the boys. In the comics, Billy, I believe, is his code name is Wiccan. He's part of the Young Avengers. He has magic powers just like Wanda does. So I don't know if both of them in the show have powers, or if it's just one doing it for both of them. Who knows? Also in the comics, Tommy, the other boy, is codenamed Speed in the Young Avengers. And he basically takes after Pietro. He's got the same powers as Wanda's brother. So I don't know if that's going to be a thing in the show. We will find out, right? But you have Wanda becoming more and more bold with things that are going on around. The boys age up right in front of Agnes. She doesn't even say anything. Like, she's almost in on it. But we'd been thinking maybe Agnes was Agatha Harkness, who is this witch character from Marvel Comics. I'm not really familiar with her. I haven't read a whole bunch of these old there's like 80s stories with Agatha Harkness here and Wanda and Vision before my time when I started reading comic books. So the speculation was that Agnes was this character over here, but after seeing the fear on her face in the take it from the top moment, and even later on when she's like holding the dead dog, I don't know that that's true. It might just be a reference to that character that was in the Wanda and Vision comics in the 80s, and just like a fun reference, but just be a regular person in this town. We will find out, hopefully, right? But Catherine Hahn is so good in this, being just fun and magical and, jazzercise class, and then boom, straight to having that straight face. All right, so Vision is working, and he's talking to Norm. They got these newfangled computers. They get an email, and Norm is played by this actor, Asif Ali, I believe is probably how you pronounce his name. I'm not sure. Apologies to you, Mr. Ali. But you are fantastic in WandaVision as Norm, and I really enjoyed this moment where Vision like puts his fingers to his temples and goes, and just boom, Norm switches out of it and becomes his regular self with, I don't know what the character's real name is, because Norm is like the sitcom name, but his real name's probably something else. I think they identified it last episode. In episode 4, they named like, this person's real name is this person's real name is this. They're playing characters in Wanda's sitcom. But anyway, Norm comes out and it's just like, I need to call my sister. She's taking care of my dad. He's sick. All these people are trapped underneath Wanda's thumb, and they're, still thinking about what's going on in their real lives. So some part of their mind is terrified, and the other part of it is just like, kind of robotic, going through the motions, things like that. So it's really cool that like you have these two brains almost, and then somehow in Agnes, she is, and maybe this is the weird part, is where she's kind of playing along. If she is this Agatha Harkness, this other witch character from the Marvel Comics, maybe Agnes is just playing along with what Wanda wants, but really she's still in control. Because I don't know how you would have that dichotomy of like do you want to take it from the top, the fearful thing, the way that Agnes is doing it, where everyone else is like Norm and they have to be zapped in and zapped out. And like Monica Rambeau was telling us in the episode outside of the Hex, that she didn't really remember what was going on while she was in there, but she knew it was Wanda. She knew there was this feeling of like overwhelming fear and sadness, and she called it grief. And then we found out, Wanda broke into the Sword headquarters where Vision's body was, took Vision's body, his corpse, as they called it, and reanimated him. So, I think the people in the town, other than Agnes and maybe the other neighbor who we saw in episode 3 when he was like cutting through the wall there, maybe those two are a little more aware than some other ones, or maybe it's like a subconscious thing, in the back of your brain. Who knows? We'll find out more as the episodes go along. But it was a complete switcheroo or whatever, that by the end of the episode, Vision knows what's going on. And not only that, Wanda also knows what's going on, because she comes out and confronts Sword and says, "Leave me alone. Leave me alone." Like, she comes out, she's wearing her Scarlet Witch uniform, her little outfit with the red leather coat, pants, the whole thing. And just so powerful and scary. Like, so cool. Such a great moment. Such a great moment. This episode filled with such great moments. Really, really enjoyed that. But I really love how they're still doing the sitcom stuff where, you have the two-camera sitcom and it's kind of full back. They don't really zoom in on anything. And then when they're having this conversation about, anytime there's a conversation about what's really going on inside the TV world, they push into these close-ups or these shoulder-up shots. And, these weird angles that aren't sitcom angles. They're like modern film, filmmaking angles. And you really get to see like Vision's face, like, "Wanda, what is going on?" And then her face, the opposite of, saying like, "I don't know what's going on. There's nothing wrong, honey." And you can tell like they're really, there's really something going on. And then they switch back to the angle whenever they're talking to Agnes, all that stuff. I really love that part about the show. because it's really, really meta. Like, it's supposed to look like this, but here's what's really going on. It's supposed to be this, here's what's really going on. Really, really enjoy that stuff. But I did not think this episode was going to go the way it did. I did not think that Vision was going to catch on until maybe the very end. I didn't think that he was going to confront Wanda about it. I didn't know the twins were going to age up twice in the same episode. And the best part was the very end when, like, all this is spurred subconsciously in Wanda's mind. She's so overcome with grief that she's basically lost her mind. She doesn't know what she's doing all the time, even though she's doing what she says she couldn't possibly do. Like, she's sitting down in that final scene in the show, and she's telling Vision, like, I don't think I could control these people's minds to make them keep their dentist appointments and walk their dogs and stuff. But in actuality, she is doing that because the boys implanted this idea of bringing back the dead earlier in the episode when they found the dog and Agnes is holding the dead dog. And she's like, their boys are going, bring him back, Mom. You can bring back the dead. Like, so what? Like, let's do it. She's like, I can't do that. And then meanwhile, her brain is like, oh, yes, you can, because you already did it with Vision, you know? And then the question about her brother earlier in the episode kind of spurred that in her brain. And then what do we have at the end of the episode? Poof. We have Pietro coming back from the dead. But the TV twist was, and this was so much fun, and Darcy just called it out and just pointed it out, like, this is weird. Did she recast Pietro? Like, because we had seen footage of Pietro, I think in this episode or in the 4th episode when they were talking about the history and stuff like that. And, Age of Ultron, they showed Aaron Taylor Johnson in costume, dying, dead, whatever. Like, they're not afraid to show it. Like, this is not a secret. And then all of a sudden, Wanda's like, boom, I don't want to remember him like that. I want to remember him like this. Enter, what's this guy's name? The guy from American Horror Story, Evan. I want to say it's Evan. I'm going to look it up on my iPad. Then you have Evan Peters come in, who, if you don't recall, was playing Quicksilver in the Fox movies. He was playing Pietro in the Fox X-Men films with Days of Future Past, I think was the first one he appeared in. He was in Apocalypse as Pietro, as Quicksilver, and also I think he was in Dark Phoenix as well. So he had 3 films in there. He was also in that Deadpool 2 cameo where they like turned, or was it Deadpool 1? Can't remember. Anyway, he was in those films as Pietro. So that was who Fox cast as Quicksilver, Pietro. Meanwhile, we had Aaron Taylor Johnson in the Avengers movies. Now, there was never a Wanda Maximoff or even a Maximoff name in the Fox movies, but this is the meta version of, recasting him. So I guess story-wise, they're going to explain this as Wanda didn't want to remember her brother as her brother being dead. So her brain cast a different person as Pietro when she brought back to life, so that looking at his face, I think, is what's going to go on here, is not bringing up these memories of her brother dying in the battle of Age of Ultron when they're saving Sokovia. It's going to not trigger all those bad memories. So that's why her brain recast Pietro. And what do we get out of it as fun Marvel fans who know all this weird kooky stuff with the separate movie universes and all this stuff? We get Evan Peters as Pietro, and honestly, he was the better Pietro. He was the better Quicksilver. Neither of them, I think, were comics accurate, because in the comics, Pietro is kind of a big dick. He's not very likable at all. So I think the Aaron Taylor Johnson version under Joss Whedon's direction in Age of Ultron was probably more true to the comics. He wasn't really like a dick there either. He was just kind of stiff. The version we got from the Fox movies was a lot more fun, and I think they're going to continue to play on that, and that's why he's like the fun 80s sitcom uncle with the leather jacket and the wild hair, of course, it's silver hair. So I think that's going to be fun as well. So are they going to make him a dick in real life when they pull him out of the sitcom and make him more like the comics character? Who knows? But I think that meta twist, like, it's meta and there's like a story reason for it. So there's like 2 layers here. And I think that is so smart and so fun. I was cackling and howling and clapping my hands. I gave this episode a standing ovation in my theater of 1 here in my house. But it was brilliant. I loved every minute of it. I want more like this. And I think if we're jumping between inside the Hex and the sword stuff and Jimmy Woo and Darcy and Monica Rambeau for the next couple episodes, we're good. We're golden, baby. As long as we're jumping in between both and we're getting this weird sitcom-y stuff, I'm loving it. We're golden. 2 thumbs up. I can't wait for more. One more thing I'm kind of wondering. They did like these X-rays, I believe, of Monica Rambeau. I think they were X-rays, and they were blank, right? And they're like, they're blank. Why would the X-rays be blank? Well, I'm wondering if Monica Rambeau is going to get her photon or spectrum powers from WandaVision. Like, we've all been kind of wondering it. They cast, they aged up Monica from being the little girl in the Captain Marvel movie. Of course, when that movie took place, it was the 90s, so this is much, much later. So you should have an older actress playing her if it's modern day, right? But we all kind of wanted to be a superpowered person anyway, right? Like, we want a black superhero in the Marvel Universe. Like, more than just Blade and War Machine. Like, give somebody with actual powers. Come on. Strong black female, like, let's go. So, that's kind of what the audience wants. So I'm thinking we're going to get that out of this. And maybe that's why the X-rays were blank, is somehow she's, like, gaining her powers. And I think, I'm not a big Monica Rambeau expert, but her name was Spectrum and Photon. At one point it was Captain Marvel in the 80s as well. But now she goes by Spectrum, I think. But at one point it was Photon. But her powers were like energy-based, light-based type things. So if that's the case, maybe that's why the X-rays, which are a form of light, like with a very high radiation range, and I forget what the wavelength, all that stuff is like, either really big or really high, or really small. I can't remember which way it is on the spectrum. Anyway, it's a form of light passing through her. So if you have light passing through light, of course, you can't take a picture of it, right? Or if you can, you're just going to get light in the X-rays. So I'm thinking she's going to get her powers, maybe. How that goes through the Hex, I have no idea. Maybe it has from going in and out, or Wanda did something. Is this latent from the blip? Are they going to explain it from her adventures with Captain Marvel in the first Captain Marvel movie? Who knows? We will find out. But I think WandaVision is an excellent, excellent show. Can't wait for more. And if this is how good it is Winter Soldier going to be as good? Falcon and Winter Soldier? Because that's up next. Once WandaVision ends, we get a week break, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier starts premiering. And once you get that ball rolling, like if you're giving us a week in between 2 different shows, Marvel, when is the third one? What is the third show, and is that going to be ready a week after Falcon ends? That's what's the questions on my mind. So, I'm excited. If Marvel Television is this good all across the board, we're in for a treat for the next couple years, because you know how many TV shows they have. That's a whole lot. So, 2 thumbs up from this guy. Episode 5, WandaVision. Fantastic episode. Everything I wanted and more. Lots of surprises. Can't wait for more. We'll see you guys next week here on BK's Bullets. Don't forget to subscribe. Like that video. Helps the algorithm. Helps the channel grow and get our numbers up so that more people can watch with us and have lots of fun. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.